I want to talk to you about energy. I want to talk to you about life, right? We're human. We're walking, talking skin bags full of human emotion. And life happens to us. We can let life fly by and we can just roll with the punches and we can, either react or respond. And I see a comment here, is everything okay, Jeff? Trust everything is all well. Looking forward to today's training. And thank you, Clyde, for recognizing that the energy might have been a little bit of a shift, But here's the thing, right? I have a choice to it's going in the background to react or to respond. Life goes, life it on, right? So I'll give you a bit of a story here. Everything's fine. I just was going from back to call to back to call. And as I had like a 5 minute buffer to, shift from one call to this call, I had a few tech issues. Now, these are just small challenges, but that is reality, right? Tech issues, and especially with running an online business, it's inevitable. Now, I can either get up in my emotions, I can react, and trust me, I'm the king of reaction. I've got a master's degree, a PhD, whatever degree you want to put against reacting versus, okay, let's get out of our head. Let's get into our heart. Let's reset. Let's be present. Let's show up and let's get the job done. So, what I just did there with that song was a reset. It was okay, let's just bring the emotions back down. Let's reset the energy back into a higher vibration conversation versus a low vibration conversation. This was me leading and being in that self leadership conversation with myself, with that monkey brain, the one that, keeps us all up in our emotions. And this is like a muscle, right? So if this is new to you, well, congratulations. This is called personal development, right? It's personal. And development means that we've got to do some inner work. And, I come from a school of hard knocks. I grew up with cowboys. I grew up in cattle ranches, horse studs, in that environment, and pretty much I grew up with, the attitude and the culture of this, let's cowboy up. Let's get on with life. Let's march on, right? It was a very toxic environment in when I look back at it. But it did teach me something about work ethic. It did teach me about something about being resilient and hardening up us basically. Ride that bull. Let's go. Get back up on that horse. Let's go. Right. It taught me about resilience. Did teach me that. But it also, you become like you become with the five people that you hang around the most. And I used to be a person who was caught up in gossip, who was caught up in drama, who was caught up in playing a small game, just getting through life, was caught up in escapism. I used to gamble, I used to drink a lot, I used to party a lot. My 20s, oh my God, I wasted them. I've been that person. Where did it get me? Not very far. I had a good time. It was very much, the motto was, we only live once. Let's go and live a good life. Let's go and live full out. But now I'm paying for that, and I'm now having to wear the cost of that good time. There's a cost in everything, right? And this is shifting into today's masterclass. So bear with me. I'm just sharing a bit of a story here to set the tone, to frame it up, right? So we have a choice. We can go through life flapping through the wind, or we can get very intentional, very focused, very mission focused on what matters most is the dream lifestyles, the mission, right? A lot of us get caught up in the doing and the what we got to do and the how we got to do it, not why we're doing it in the things. It's the why that makes you cry, is the why that will pull you up the mountains, the why that will make sure you stay accountable, make sure you stay responsible, make sure you stay ownership in that space, living life above the line and stepping up and do whatever it takes to show up. Let your yes be a yes and your no be a no. Let you be a leader, and you've got to be a self leader in that conversation before you can lead other people, right? So we have a choice. We're either being led or we can lead, right? And we're being led, which has been influenced by the society, by the friends around us. And it is our choice to stay stuck in that space. It's our choice to react versus respond. It's our choice. We get to choose our hard. working for day to day, working for the bills, working for the party, working for the weekend, working for going through keeping up with the Joneses. Like, I don't know about you. I've been there, done that very well. Was it healthy? Not really. The damage that it's caused and the impact that that's caused is definitely not healthy in any way. It just set me up for failure. It set me up for false expectations. It set me up for disaster in that space. And I got to choose, I got a choice. I can take ownership and responsibility and accountability for my actions, or I can go into blame, excuse, and denial and live life below the line and blame everybody else for everybody else's fault. But see, that choice is mine. I get that hard to stay stuck in that hard, to stay stuck in that pace. Reality is, whether you're choosing it or not, you are choosing it. Your subconscious is choosing it. And I get it. To break out of that cycle, it's scary. It's unknown. It's challenging. It is hard. But we get to stay stuck in our hard, or we get to go build our hard. I'd rather go build our heart. I'd rather go build something that is worth living for. I'd rather go build a legacy and an impact to serve the greater good, to serve humanity, to raise the vibration, to lift up the elevation of that conversation. See, we have a choice: react or respond. Lost sound. Can I get just a one in the comment if you guys can hear me okay? Jamie said he's lost sound. Just a check in there. It seems to be working back for me. Yeah, okay, cool. It must be an internet connection on your end, mate. Thank you. One, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Craig. So if this is resonating, if this is speaking directly to your heart, if this is giving you a bit of a wake up call, if this is giving you a bit of a slap across the forehead, good. Designed to, because the choice is yours. Are you reacting right now or are you responding? See, response requires an open heart. Response requires an open mind. A response requires an intelligent, thinking, logical space. The saying here that comes to mind that always is my check-in, is always my tool. Our emotions go high, our intelligence goes low. So as I jumped on today's call, I was frustrated. I was up in my emotions. I was in that space of reaction versus response. So the reset, I recognized that the red flags were there for me. The awareness was there for me because I've got my tools in my tool belt and I've got the conversations and I know how to flip the switch. You ever been in an argument with your spouse or your children? The energy is palpable. It's like the tension, the anger, the frustration, the anxiety, the stress, the fear that comes up in those arguments. Like you can, when you're attuned to this, when you're aware to this, when you're playing at this level of vibration and your intuition, your gut feeling kicks in, you can taste it, you can smell the energy, you can feel the energy. See, this is it. We're all energetic. We're just shifting energy from one thing to another. That's all we're doing. We're either sucking energy out or we're giving energy back. There are a lot of energy vampires out there, a lot of extra grace required people out there, and that's okay. It's our job to be responsible, to be the light, to be the hope, to be the reason somebody smiles. See, that's our choice in how we can react. We can get caught up in drama and gossip and be, and get caught in that negative spiral of that energy. I've done that. That's attractive. It is addictive, you know. But the better game here, the higher game here to play, the more intentional and purpose-driven game is the opposite to that. So that's what I did. I shift the energy just like that. I played a good song. Music, wow, it's a good tool. Good songs, wow, they're great tools. Why? Because that's that energy shift, right? They're energy givers in that space to help us to reset. Now, I actually didn't plan this part of today's training. This was just, this is what I felt that call it the Holy Spirit, if you will, call it that gut intuition, whatever label you want to put in there. This is what the room needed right now. Thank you, Trish. I love listening to music. There is actually some, chemical reasons to why it helps us to shift our energy. I'll get into that another day. But the what is it? The vagus nerve. There's some things in that space when we start to sing, when we start to just meditate, when we start to get into that conversation, our energy and our heart shifts. Now, this is really and really important conversation to actually just set up today's training. I love Fraser Brooks. I've learnt so much from Fraser Brooks. And one of the things, and I know that he's repeating other people's training in this space as well, right? There is no intellectual property infringement since the days of Socrates. We're all just sharing our experience, our wisdom on other people's knowledge and building on it, right? And so Fraser Brooks says, in this space, what we think, we do. What we do, we act. What we act on, we get results on. Right. So if you're jumping into your daily activities, is which we're going to shift into, and I'm going to show you how to do your hour of power with you. And this is one of the things I do in my hour of power is I spend 10, 15 minutes in, personal development, reading a good book, listening to a good podcast, listening to good music to get into the right frame of mind. What we think, what we feel, what we feel, what we do, we act, what we act on, we get results on. Now, if you're trying to build your business out of an energy state of lack, fear, scarcity, anger, frustration, guess what? Everything you do is going to have that signature about it. Everything you do is going to come across as desperate. It's going to come across as that creep mode. It's going to come across as it's all about you mode, not about me mode. We'll do questions later. Sorry, Keith. I'll just keep going for the moment. Right. So it's all about energy. Now, so if we operate out of the head space, out of the heart space, out of the energy space, out of positive, out of abundance, out of servant-hearted leadership, out of generosity, out of love, and what we do in that space, we'll start to see the energy come back multiplied. This is the law of reciprocity. What we give out, we get back. So that's true to both sides of that conversation. If you're putting, stressful anxiety energy out, what are you going to get back? It's the law of vibration, right? It's the law of resonance. We're going to get that back. But if we operate out of a space of love, if we operate out of a space of joy, peace, and purpose and intention and abundance, then that's what we get back. People call it the law of attraction. People call it manifestation. I call it the law of vibration. I call it the law of energy because this is how I understand it, interpret it. For me, prayer is a really powerful tool. Music is a powerful tool. Prayer is a powerful tool. Worship is a powerful tool to reset the energy vibration. Right. So let's shift into this. So that's one of my non-negotiables. Right. So I sit and I listen to, conversations like this. I be a part of conversations like this. I be a part of interacting with content and lessons and coaches and mentors that help me to elevate my vibration. I do personal development. Right. The other thing that we need to do as a non-negotiable, and so I've actually got 5 here. That's a bonus one. And I should have started with that one here on my list, but these are my 5 daily non-negotiables. And I'm going to get into interactive in a second. I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to show you how I do the first one. First one is I connect. How can we build a network marketing business if we're not connecting with the people in our influence, but also connecting with new people? How can I continue to grow a business and build a business with new people and keeping it moving, keeping it going? If your business is stagnant, if your business is stalled, if your team is not growing, well, your team's going to do what you're doing. They're going to replicate that. But the quickest way as a leader to breathe new life is to breathe new energy into the team is go and bring in new people, bring in new blood to the system. So this for me is a daily non-negotiable. Right? Because my attraction marketing is not designed to convert. It's not designed to sell. It's designed to connect. It's designed to build community. It's designed to build connection. So let's reach out and build authentic relationships daily. This is why I help people find their voice to go create content that's attractive, that speaks to that heart and brings people to them. But it doesn't stop there. It starts with us going out to people. You know, Gary Vanderchuck calls it, jab, 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 right hook. This is where our messages, our check-ins, our content, our interactions, start this. I'm going to show you what I do to connect with people. And then, so that's number one, daily non-negotiable. I make sure I connect with 10 new people every day. I'm going to show you how I do that, right? The number two non-negotiable here on this list is content. Now, yes, we've got to put promotional and sales-based content out there, but you don't want to do that all the time because all that's coming across is pitching and spamming if you do that all the time. Let's be a person of adds value to the conversation. Let's be the reason somebody smiles. Let's build up our trust bank. Let's build up our influence. Let's connect. Let's go and win friends and build influence and connect with people. So your content is designed to do that as the primary objective. Post and engage with value-based content at least 1 to 2 times a day. If you can do more, great. But I've narrowed this down. If you only had an hour a day to build your business, this is what I would be doing, and this is what I do. This is my power of hour, if you will. How you speed this game up is instead of doing an hour of power, go do that hour of power 3, 4 times a day. It's a numbers game. It's the law of averages. The third thing I do, and I make sure I do daily non-negotiable, is I'm connecting with people, like I'm starting conversations. But this is the third thing, is I converse. So there's a difference between connection versus conversing with people. Connection is all about starting that connection, the interaction, building the relationship. The conversation piece, the conversing piece is deepening that relationship. And this is where I teach people to go qualify and invite, go build rapport, go build engagement, go build trust, go build a relationship with people, right? So this is where we don't pitch and we start connecting. But then we move into now giving ourselves permission to move into this space, which is number 4, is closing. If we're not offering people to work with us, if we're not, giving people the opportunity to explore things for themselves and work for us, if we're not closing, if we're not, building that connection to move forward, a better word would be the continuation of the conversation, then how can we expect people to work with us? We've got to give them the opportunity. It's our job to make it simple and easy for people. So I'm going to show you how I do all of this. And the fifth thing I do is check in. As a team builder, as a hero maker, you've got to check in with your team on a regular basis. You don't have to do it every day. I personally brought in over 80 people into this now in the last month or two. And, I've got 80 people to check in with. And that's a lot to do in a day. But I break it up, I batch it up. I check in with these people, I check in with that people. So I've got my daily non-negotiables that are helping me to move the needle forward faster and help me to be the leader that I wish that I had. But checking in on reflection, lessons, planning, tomorrow's key call to actions. Let's get into this space to help people move forward faster. So let me move into some interactive space here. So how do I connect with people? And if there's any questions, let's leave them towards the end, and I'll come back to questions. But you're more than happy just to put them in the comments for me. I'll read back through them before I go. But yeah, let's keep it moving forward, right? And let's get into that show don't tell approach. So let me bring up my Facebook page here. So how do I connect? How do I find new people to connect with? Right. And so if you're doing this already, great. Keep an open mind, keep an open heart, because we can always learn something from each other, and we can always, it's the 1%ers, right, that we can pay attention to. If this is new to you, great. Let's get into it. So, all right, Facebook. For me, it's Facebook. If it's LinkedIn, if it's TikTok, if it's Snapchat, if it's Twitter, if it's Instagram, look, the principles here are universal. They work on any tool, any platform. The mechanics of it all might be a bit different, right? But the principles, the fundamentals, you could do this anywhere, anytime. You could actually do this in good old fashioned belly to belly networking at events, at a party, talking to the checkout chick, wherever you are. I'm looking for opportunities first and foremost to connect with people. What I like to do is on a daily basis is I like to scroll through my newsfeed, not doom scrolling. I'm looking for people that I aspire to be like, and I know where my community's hanging out. And I know Austin Armstrong in the AI space, and the thought leadership space, and the content creation space, one of the best guys out there. So there are other people following him too. Guess what? Right here, 87 people. All right. So I'm looking for people who are like me, who have mutual friends, who are in the same circles that I can connect with. So my benchmark here is I'm looking for people who have got more than five mutual friends. Right now, Austin is one of my go-to guys, so I've probably picked up all of the ones that I need to pick up there for now. And you can see simply, okay, see this guy here, he's got four, he's close enough. What I'll do, add friend. So I'm putting out myself to say, hey, I'm shaking hands with people. I'm essentially picking up business cards with people. So there's multiple ways that we can do this. There's other authority leaders, and so people that I follow to aspire to be like, people that I like to be with and all that sort of thing. People reach out and they connect with me. If I've got mutual friends with them, I'll confirm them. I can guarantee you I've already got my 5,000 limit, so I need to every day, at least once a week, I need to go through and I need to unconnect with people. So I'm only connected with people who want to be interacting with me. I love Jim's stuff. So yeah, that's the thing, right? Other people who comment and engage on your content. Jim's in the podcasting arena. He's faith, driven content, coach in that space. So do you think there's going to be some ideal people here floating around with Jim's connections? Of course there is, right? So there we go. There's another one. Right, there's another one. That's another one. How simple is that? I can do that at least 10 times a day, right? And I can do that in what? 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Right, so that's the first level of connection. There's different levels. My next step here is I'm going to go over here to my settings. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to activity log. Then what I'm actually looking for is the friends, right? And then I'm going to see all of my new connections, all of my new potential friends, all of my new potential of conversations. And here we go. This is what I do at least 10 times a day. I'll open these guys up. I will start a conversation. Now, I'm not diving in for the kiss right away, guys. I've had to learn how to be intentional about slowing this down, and so do you. Our goal here is not to close. Our goal here is to connect. And I let my content do my thing. So I show up. I be a person who's a reason to smile. I be a person who's a reason to connect with. I be interesting until I be interested. Right, so here's Cara. I don't know Cara from a bar of soap. I can see here straight away that she's definitely in our circle of influence. She's definitely an Australian. And right, so I can look through her profile quickly at a glance. I can see she's got some mutual friends here. Right, so what's my first interaction? Start a conversation. Right, and this is what I would do. Now, I do have tools that can help out with automation in this and that space, but I'm not going to talk about this today. I'm showing you how to do it manually. At the end of the day, with running a business, there's a cost to it and everything. There's time, energy, or money. Right now, we're using our time and energy, right? So this is Cara. So I would say, "G'day, Cara. Great to connect with you. And be original. Don't just be like everybody else. Be you. Use your energy. Use your high vibration. Use that expression. And so I like to be original. I like to be unique. I like to stand out in that space. So I say, great to connect with you. And for me, what I found that works really, really well. Now you can copy me, you can do whatever you like, but I encourage you to be yourself and be an original in that space. But for me, what I find is trust that you are having a boom source day. Now, I know that that works because people go, huh? What's boom source? Sounds cool. I'm going to ask the question. See, what I'm doing is I'm designing to connect, but I'm also looking for the next level. I'm always future pacing. I'm always, planting the seeds. I'm always knocking on doors. How can you expect doors to open if you're not knocking on doors? Right? So how can we expect to give the opportunity to put offers in front of all if we're not connecting? You start to see the layers here. There's a lot of intentionality in the way that we can show up and take some massive action. When I get into recruitment mode, I'll go and do this at least 100 times a day, not 10 times a day. Right? So it's all about your shift and your focus, and you get what you focus on, you get what you fight for. So that's what's quite simple. So I would say, "G'day, Cara," da da da, right? Now to speed that up, that's definitely a personal message. That's definitely me. I would now copy that. All right. So, okay, I've already started a conversation with Justin, and so I would copy that and I'd paste it and I would go, simple. All right. How are you? All right. Here's a new conversation with a new potential friend. How are you? Our. Sometimes with different nationalities, I like to probably just do that just to make sure I'm not assuming shit. I'm looking to be corrected sometimes with the pronouncing of names or spelling, whatever, right? So we're all human. This is where, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And if they're not the right person, great, they've qualified themselves out of the game. Cool, let's move on. Right, so I would just go do that. And I would do that at least 10 times a day. Now, here's a word of warning. If you're too aggressive, if you look like a robot, if you do it too much and too hard and fast, you will end up in Facebook jail. I found the sweet spot is to about 10 to 15 a day consistently. I can do more than that because what Facebook algorithm's designed to do is designed to look for natural patterns of behavior. For me, this is how I show up naturally. So I can push the boundaries a little bit, but it's like a muscle, right? I've had to grow that muscle. I recommend if you're just starting out in this space, start with 10 the first week. It's 10 a day for the first week. Then move it up to 12 a day for the second week. Then move it up to 15 a day for the third week, right? It's about being human and about making sure that we're in that space. Yeah, look, no, being blocked with Facebook from sending 20 a day. So look, they're all original posts, no copy and paste here. Yeah, look, and that's just part of Facebook, right? It's controlling, and we've just got to learn to pivot and adjust and stay within the boundaries that they've given us. But I can't give you a hard and fast rule because it's different for everybody. The algorithm's designed to look for natural patterns of behavior. So what's natural for you and what's natural for me is different because that's the human element of it all. So this is where we test and measure. We push the boundaries, we break things if we have to figure out where those boundaries are. But I would recommend if you're ending up in Facebook jail, quite a fair bit because it seems like you've been too aggressive, then you just got to do the same thing but back it off. And so you've got to find that boundary for you. And you can only do that by feedback, by testing and measuring, by getting in and having a go, right? So if you're in Facebook jail a fair bit, it means that they've identified you as a serial offender and you've got some tighter boundaries on you. So sometimes you just got to give it a bit of a break and you've got to look at other ways to start a conversation, commenting, posting. There are different ways that you can do it, right? This is just what I know that works really well in this space, right? So that's what I would do. And so I leave it at that. I don't go any further until they respond. And people, when they respond, I will have a bit of chit chat back and forth and I will leave it at that until they go and connect with my content. And then something sparks a conversation to go deeper and further. So this is why it's the jab, 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 right hook conversation. I don't rely on just messaging to convert people, and I don't rely on just content to convert people. See, it's two sides of the same coin. But see, my next thing I would do is I would post. So, and also, the way the algorithm's designed to work is when the more you interact, the more you be sociable on Facebook, the more that it's like the law of reciprocity, right? The more Facebook algorithm will start to get your content in front of more people if you're consistent. You can't do it hard and fast for 10 days and then do nothing for 10 days and then go back and do it for 20 days, right? You need to show up daily. That's a consistency muscle. These are why I call them my daily non-negotiables, right? So let's go do a post on the fly. I love to use AI. Now, my chatbot here is set up for success. It's mature. I've been using this for 3 years, right? So straight away, I've already got a bit of a post here, and I love to use Chatty's little dictate version here. So you can see here, I've used Chatty, right? So if you push that button, you've got to have the $20 a day version to use this feature. But if I go, hey, Chatty, blah, 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 it's going to transcribe that for me and dictate it. Just like as someone that was, back in the 1920s, how there used to be dictation, right? So AI is taking that care of that job for me. And I've said, say, Chatty, I want you to help me come up with a long form content post for Facebook today. I want you to act like an event promoter. You know, the one that sorts to, helps people out. And this is me just talking to Chatty. So teaching people how to be personal development, online events, network marketing events, opportunity calls, that type of thing. As a network marketer professional or actually any online business professional, one of the skills that we need to develop in this space is the art of being a really good promoter. Essentially in an art of being a really good inviter, to things, like an evangelist, to invite people to the party. And when we learn how to master this skill and encourage and compel and even convince people to show up for themselves, essentially what we're doing is the law of leadership. It's the law of buy-in. So getting people to buy in for themselves. So can you help me unpack the psychology around all of this and give my people, 2 to 3 practical tips to help people that they can take away to help them become a better promoter in their game for online businesses. So that's the me part, right? That's my wisdom part. That's my experience part. That's my coaching part coming into there. You could say, okay, Chatty, I've got a really awesome story to share with you today. Here's some of the wisdoms I learnt in this, blah, 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 blah. Help me turn this into a long form post and unpack this and go deeper with it and maybe add in something, a good friend or a good mentor would say from XYZ book to help me to reinforce the lesson. And that's all I've done here in this space, right? So this is me leading with teaching, leading with value, leading with attraction marketing type content. But I know that I'm serving my people because this is the problem solving space that people need, right? Network marketers need to learn how to be good promoters. See, now anybody who interacts with this post, they're putting their hand up and qualifying themselves to be in this space. They're a person that I identify as someone that I want to build a stronger connection with. So I'll show you how I do that, right? So we're going to basically, I copy that, I post that, and away we go, right? So I would just copy this and I would tweak it and adjust it. It's never 100%, AI. You always, it's a bit like a GPS, right? You never trust the GPS to get you to XYZ destination because if you do, sometimes you might end up in a river. I use AI as a tool to partner with, to embrace, to amplify me, to help me to be more efficient, more effective, and more empowering in that space, right? So this is pretty close because my AI knows how to talk with me and knows a lot of revision that I've done already. But I know straight away, I like to take these dashes out. I don't like them. It looks a little bit, too AI-ish, if you will, is that if it's a term. But this is me. This is how I talk. This is how I sound. I've got my AI to be familiar in that space. If you're looking for support in that, reach out to one of our many experts. Brian and Eric are great at doing that. I'm great at doing that. There's quite a few leaders here that can support you in that journey. Look, I am a coach and a mentor in this space. People pay me thousands of dollars to help me to mentor them in this space to be able to teach them how to do just this. I'm giving you this is what I do on a daily basis and just showing you how I show up. Right, so look, there we go. That's a pretty awesome post. I would put an image with that, to bring in that personal image space just to play the game, but more about it's about the content. And right, and so I would post. Right, so I've connected. Right, so what was our daily five? Right, it was connect. Anybody remember? It was connect. It was content. That's step two. Right. And so I've connected with people. I've built an initial relationship with people. Now I've put my post up for people, and I'm actually going to delete that one just because I've already got it scheduled out for in about an hour's time. Right. So I've done my post for the day. I at least do one or two, three. So I can do short form, I can do long form, and away we go. Right. So if you're following me along, if you're not, come and follow. This is, lead by example, right? So here it is. The real secret to growing up in line on business that most people kit. This promotion. There it is. There's that post. It went live. I scheduled it out. Right, here we go. Now I've got people interacting with it. Now, a lot of these people are people that I've already had conversations with. Jade works with me. Dade works with me. Vicky, I have no idea who Vicky is. That's a new prospect. Chola, someone who's been following me for the last 3 years in the Philippines, I can reach out to her. Now, see, I'm moving into step three on my daily non-negotiables. Jim's part of our online church. We swap interviews with each other on our podcast, and so we've got a working relationship with each other. Vicky, right? So I'm going to actually also invite Vicky to follow me, but Vicky would be another great person that I could start a conversation with, right? So that's going back to step one, so I can, just for the sake of speed here, rather than me typing it out, I'm just going to go same post. G'day, Vic. All right, there we go. So great to connect with you. All right, hope you trust every boob. So I'll stay now because we're not actually Facebook friends. that's going to go into their others folder, and it's more than likely to get lost in the spam folder. That's okay. I'm just showing you what I would do. I would connect with my friend and then I would message him. And I'd go from here. But see, this is where I start to build deeper relationships with people. All right. So I'm looking for people I haven't really started a conversation with, so I connect with them. That's another place I can connect. I know Isaiah's part of Finance Pro already. Kiara's Finance Pro, Adam's Finance Pro, but Joe, I have no idea. Really haven't really spoken to this Joe guy. Okay, all right, we have. We've had a couple of conversations, but he's left me on blank. He hasn't seen my messages yet. So Joe here has liked the post. How can I pray for you? Right, well, I'm going to go deeper with that conversation. Hey, Joe, um, thanks for engaging on my post around prayer. Just reaching out to see if there is anything I can pray into for you. All right, so what am I doing here? I'm building relationships. I'm building connection. I'm strengthening that trust. I'm strengthening that influence muscle. Because then when I start doing that with Joe, I show up 5, 10, 8 times. I become a great guy. I become someone who they want to smile. Someone wants to make them smile. When I do put up, like my mate Andrew's put up here, less than 2 months ago, this is where I share, more of a storytelling content that leads into that, call to action piece. When I do that, people show up and they ask Jeff, yes, me, I want to know more information. Andrew does that very effectively and he gets the same result. This is that attraction marketing piece, right? So I can go deeper into that in another masterclass and we will. But just on a surface level, I use my content to engage. I use my content to attract. I use my content to build conversations which build relationships. And then when I do put up a post about, hey, I found the next best thing since sliced bread, blah, 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 I promote 10%, 20% of the time. People put their hand up and say, yes, I want more information, right? So people are coming to me and saying, yes, I want more information. This is how I do it, right? This is not an overnight success story. This is building that muscle and consistently day in, day out, day in, day out. And you can see I'm bringing new people in, new blood into the system. I'm interacting with new people daily. I'm building conversations daily. I'm building relationships daily. So then I'm going through what I call the money funnel, right? So this whole process that I'm going through is going from top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, right? So then I now, people start to ask me, say, hey, Jeff, what is this thing XYZ? I'll show you a pure example right here, right now that happened this morning. This is where people start reaching out to you. This Justin fella, right? So he's just reached out to me, like he's been following me for a while. Hey, how are you? Can you send me more information on your company? I get that at least 10 times a week. So this is how you can bring people to you. But you've got to show up consistently, and I would give yourself a good 6 months to do it before you really attach to the results. Now, how can we speed this process up now and not wait for our content to bring us up, people? Well, I've showed you before. Go start conversations. If you do that part, that'll speed up the engagement part on your content as well, and you do it for 30, 60, 90 days. You're planting seeds of hope. You're planting seeds of love. You're planting seeds of life. What you do, if you do this consistently for 90 days, I would say that your next 90 days are going to look a lot different, right? And then you can start having this type of interaction. Now, he's jumped into it. Now, I've got to get some clarity around here. What's he after? I'm not just going to rush in for the kiss. Great to connect. Send me what you got. Well, legend, I do a lot. Here's what I explain. I put up a post there about what I do. So, how can I help you? What are you looking for? I'm looking for specificity. I'm looking for that connection point. All right. So, this guy's very blunt. He's straight to the point. Cool. I get it. We're all busy lives. We're not. This guy's not all about relationship. Cool, I can operate that way, but I still need to know, what do you need? What do you want? I want to know how see what I'm doing here is I'm qualifying people before I invite them and give them the information to check it out. Right? Sorry, I just got to grab my charger cord. I can see my battery getting low. Thought it was plugged in, but it's not. Let me just fix that problem. Right, so this is a very hard and fast one. Some people take a little bit more love, some take a little bit more nurturing. but this is the end result of getting there. So, right, so cool. All right, so I shared. So he wants to know more about the streaming services. Awesome. Want to look into that? Brilliant. I left a voice message. This is a great place to start. Here's a replay of one of our opportunity calls. Okay, cool. Have they launched yet? Any live events? So that's a live going conversation that is moving forward. There are a lot of things there, and I'll show in the next masterclass on how to go through and start qualifying, people into DMs and building that same sort of impact with you going out to people. Today, this is all about bringing people to you. I want to show you the opposite to that to get you into massive action, to get into that recruitment mode and go out to people. Be assertive. Go have 10 conversations. Right. So then what I do is like my next question for that guy is, first off, tell me, what did you like best? He's asking questions already, so I'll answer his questions, then I'll flip it and I'll go, what did you like best? And he'll say dot dot dot, and then I'll go, yeah, me too. Have you got any questions or are you ready to get started? See, this is me closing now. This is me continuing the conversation. This is me moving it forward. This is me leading in this space. Have you got any questions or are you ready to get started? All right, so that gives people permission to ask their questions. It's a really powerful question I've asked. That makes me $1 million a year in that space. Have you got any questions or are you ready to get started? Right. And then that fifth step in this space is then checking in. It's that, that's that continue on space. If they ask that question, I haven't closed them yet, they haven't joined the team yet, I would check in with them. Hey, how are you? Where you're at with this? Are you ready to get started? I'll do that 2 or 3 times before it starts to come across as pestering, but the fortune is in the follow up, and I follow up relentlessly because I truly do care, and that's the vibration that I put out there, not the desperate one. Remember, there's energy, and I used to be the desperate one, so I understand how to piss people off really well. I understand how to get people to tell me to fuck off. I understand how to people, to upset people. I've done that very, very well. I'm the king of that. But I've also learned how to do the opposite and follow up with high energy, follow up with caring, follow up with, intention. So there's an art to that as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start breaking these down and honing in on these 5 steps and going deeper with you. Today's more of an overview training to show you what I do if I had an hour a day, this is what I do. And I just go people. So the objective here is just to move people forward in that funnel. And the more conversations you're having, the more connections you're building, the more conversations you're qualifying, the more people you're inviting to explore this for themselves, the more people you're asking to close, the more people you're building with. And on the other side of this conversation, now you're building them and teaching them to do the same thing. You're checking in, you're doing life, you're doing business together. The more you do, the faster this will grow. It's about consistency, right? It's your choice to how you show up in this space. But remember, as I started today's training, it's all about energy. It's just a transfer of energy, a transfer of belief, a transfer of trust, a transfer of confidence, a transfer of posture, and like raising the elevation. It's our job, it's our responsibility, if you will, to help people to be led to a higher vibration state. And this is all I do. It's as simple as that. We overcomplicate this. I've overcomplicated this. I've looked for all the tactics. I've looked for all the shortcuts. The quickest shortcut is go do the work. I've just shown you how to go do the work. So let's get into action. Let's get this sucker up and running. Like the team and the corporate have given us everything that we've asked for to be able to be empowered, to be able to be equipped, to be able to get out in the field, go connect, go converse, go bring people in. Simple as, right? So let me check the comments here to see if there's any questions. If not, we will bring this training to a close. Yes, there will be a replay. I'll upload that to my own YouTube channel at this stage. Working with Josh to speed that up to get it out to the corporate field as quickly as possible. But if you go to YouTube at Laptop Lifestyle Dads, you'll find my personal channel there, and that's where I'm hosting all of the corporate trainings here for these ones for the Voice Pro calls and getting that out to the field. So here's the thing, right? I can look for problems or I can look for solutions. The problem here is it's a great, it's there's a problem getting the information out to the field. I've worked with the team, I've worked with corporate. That's great. I understand they're under the pump. I understand there's higher priorities. Cool. What can I do to be a leader? What can I do to be a solution creator and a problem solver? This is how we all need to operate, right? We need to be self-leaders. We can't be a hero maker if we can't lead ourselves. So, guys, this is about activation. This is about empowerment. This is about equipping you to go be that self leader to get into massive action. Now, guys, we want to start inviting people to these calls. I understand that we've all got busy lives. There's a load of calls out there. We want to bring them to the opportunity calls. We want to bring them to Josh's calls. But these are the field calls where we can really, really lock arms and run together. This is where we share our wisdom. I'm going to start bringing in other leaders and getting to share their wisdom as well. And away we go. So, guys, just go to YouTube, type in the @ and go laptoplifestyle.dads. You'll find the link there for yourselves. All right. Thanks for your time. Bye for now. Stay caffeinated. Stay legendary. We'll see you on Thursday's call at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we start unpacking this and going deeper. Bye for now. See you later.